Good afternoon, folks. It's Coach Blue for you, returning for this week's topic. And it's going to be a little bit controversial, but it's about here. Black lives really don't matter. Black lives really don't matter. Based off the current events and affairs that are happening recently, especially with the death of George Floyd, people are protesting, people are picketing, people have signs all over the place saying Black lives matter. They really don't. The value of a black life is nothing. The value of a black male is pretty much nothing, especially in this country. Across the world, it has little value, but definitely here in the United States, the value of a black male, there is no value to it. If you listen a little bit longer to my discussion here, you'll kind of find out some of the reasoning why and get some different viewpoints and make you think a little bit differently about this approach about Black Lives Matter when they really don't, and understand the psychology and the meaning behind it, and maybe some different alternatives or maybe what we should be doing differently. Uh, A number of lives, literally hundreds of lives, have been lost by the hands to the hands of the police of unarmed black men over the years. Literally hundreds. George Floyd was one. Ahmaud Arbery down in South Georgia. Oscar Grant. Trayvon Martin in Florida years ago. And the list goes on and on. Just some brief stats that I have back from 2015. We probably added about 20 to 30% to these numbers for 2020 numbers. They're probably pretty accurate. But what we found is that police killed at least 104 unarmed black men or black people in 2015. That's nearly twice a week. Nearly one in every third black person killed in 2015 was identified as being unarmed. 36% of of unarmed people killed by police were black in 2015. And check this one out. Only 13 of 104 cases in 2015 where an unarmed black person was killed by a police officer, the officer was where the officer was actually charged with the crime. Most of those cases, they weren't charged with the crime at all. 4 were mistrials, and some had even minimal cases where the sentencing was 4 years or less, or getting out on good probation. That's horrendous. That is literally horrendous. But let's take it back one more notch to another dimension. We're going to go back to 1877 through 1950. More than 4,400 to 4,700 black men, women, and children were documented killed in lynchings in the United States, predominantly in the South and in the Midwest. 4,400 plus. No repercussion. It was okay. It was something to do. It was validated. What value did that life have, or those lives have? Zero. They didn't have any value because it was okay. I'll give you a little bit of history. This is some DuaneBlue education. Let me back up. Let me back up one more point. Let's first talk about the psychology. The whole psychology about Black lives really don't matter begins at the beginning of this country, especially at the beginning of slavery, where the whole imposition of slavery and the institution of it was to gain and maintain control over folks that were chained or that were enslaved. And basically by instituting the feeling or the element of fear. But once slavery ended, that control and that maintaining of control was still demanded and was still needed. So fear was the common factor, and a number of different elements were imposed to keep this control factor of gaining and maintaining control by imposing fear on black folks throughout the United States. See, this is a deep-rooted psychology. This is a deep-rooted finding. This is something that's embedded in our culture. It is embedded in our country. You can't change that by holding up a sign. You can't change that by picketing or being mad or burning something out in the street. That will not change the psychology, the belief, the rearing, the education, the brainwashing of what has been instilled in folks in this country about what is the value of a black man. It has had no value. That value has been stripped. That value has been taken away. That value has been demeaned by different activities over and over through years and years of repetition in order to gain and maintain control by imposing fear. It has evolved into where there is no value. Now, there was no value. There was very little value when it started. That's because we were property. Some people value their property and some people don't, but you don't value property often as you do a life. And then over the years, the value of the life diminished It was just something. It wasn't somebody. It was a thing. So it even took away another element. And then in the psychology of a person who is imposing that element of owning slaves or being oppressive, in order to detach yourselves from the psychology of about what you're doing, being a conscious event to another human as being not being subhuman, they had to separate themselves. You had to mentally separate yourself and look at that person as different. They can't be like me. They're different. They don't bleed red. They have tails. They have this. They have all these myths, all these ideologies. They're ignorant. They're this, they're that. So you can totally detach from them so that when you do something that's horrendous or inhumane or take a life, it doesn't matter because you're detached. Well, over years, that has continued to grow. And here's a few different events so you can understand the deep rootedness of why a black life doesn't have value or it really doesn't matter. We'll start off with lynchings. Lynchings occurred in that time frame I mentioned, 1877 through mid 1950s. Emmett Till. There were a number of them. Black males were tarred and feathered. Emmett Till was 14 years old. Someone accused him of looking at a white lady in a sexual manner or possibly even whistling, and they lynched him. They tarred and feathered him and lynched him at 14 years old. There were many sexual overtones with black males in reference to white women in those times that were very offensive or very fearful for white males or white America, that they needed to take that element of a black male and totally strip it and make it nothing. So in the event of lynchings, which were basically, it was an event that if you felt that in a vigilante mindset that somebody was wrong or black, or whether they were wrong or not, that you were just mad or you just wanted to prove a point, or actually even more horrendous, that you wanted to have an outing, you would go lynch a black person to the point where you would castrate them, whip them, tar and feather them, just mutilate this body hanging out on a tree out in a social event as entertainment. What type of value does that body have? A person have? They have none. People would take their families to these events, hence the word picnic. Now, picnic is not a, people believe it's an American word called pick a nigger. That's where it came from, but that's not it. Picnic is a French word. It comes from French. The French mean picnic, and it started off a base of kind of a potluck concept of where people would gather on weekends or nice days, and they would come outside and they would eat. It evolved to England, where upper society or upper class America of New England or England would come together and on an upper posh level, and they would communicate with each other, and they would have special events, kind of like a, not a secret society, but an upper class society outside. So when the it was stolen from England and from France and brought to the United States, in the same concept that it's an outing outside, people get together, hang out with family and friends and an outing and have fun. But the entertainment here in America was a lynching. It was where a black person was lynched, and that was a form of entertainment. And literally, people would gather for these hundreds, children, family members. So when you're doing this and you're graining this into a child that's 4 or 5 years old, 8, 9, 10, they're saying, oh, this is okay. It's okay to do this type of person. They have no value. You're teaching that this group of people has no value. What we're doing out here, what we're celebrating, what we're entertaining about, it's okay. So you've got to see where this non-value is coming from. Years of ingrainment, years of brainwashing, years of teaching from one generation to the next. Now, am I saying that everybody out there is like that? The answer is no. No, everybody is not. But there is a large proportion of folks out there that have that understanding of value, that black people really don't have that, that they're just ignorant, that they're stupid, that they're just wild, that they're animals, that they don't care, that they're just less than, that they are truly inferior. And that's sad. Another quick example on the value or the lessening of value is back at the end of slavery, early 1800s and 1900s, alligator trading or alligator hunting was huge in Florida or in South Georgia and Florida, where to the point where there was a lot of money being made. But They use black babies as alligator bait. If you don't believe me, check it out. Here are some articles talking about some advertisement of using black children as alligator bait. I have some articles here based off of it. Back in 1923, Time magazine reported that color babies were being used for alligator bait in Chipley, Florida. The infants were allowed to play in the shallow water while expert riflemen watched from a concealed area nearby. When the alligator approached his prey, he shot the alligator with the rifle, but at the expense of the baby's life. Here's another one. October 1919, the Richmond Times dispatched that we understand that Florida authorities are going to prohibit the use of live pickaninnies, which was another word for a black baby, pickaninnies, as alligator bait. They say that they say, and they try to joke about it, that it causes indigestion for the alligator. But that was in 1919, getting ready to impose a law to prohibit using a black baby as alligator bait. Unbelievable. Um, that's enough about that. So those are some brief examples of why people think the way they think today, how people get to where they are today, and then by us talking and promoting Black Lives Matter, how we're really standing on something that really doesn't have any value, or it really doesn't. It's not going to get us anywhere or do anything, because the brainwashing, the training has been for hundreds of years in this country that a black life does not matter. It does not have value. So you may ask me, well, damn, Dwayne, what the Coach Blue, what the fuck? What do we do? Last night, like I said, there were riots, not riots, there were outings here in Atlanta in reference to the George Floyd case. People gathered downtown, they protested, they had signs, and it started out pretty peaceful for a number of hours. And it ended up pretty violent towards the end of the night, breaking into Lennox, stealing, I guess, cell phones and other property out of some of the stores, AT&T, damaging police cars, burning items, just being destructive at that point. I'm not judging the actions. I have my own opinions of what I think of them, but I'm not judging them because I wasn't there and I wasn't in the heads of the folks who were committing those acts. I have my own thoughts or my own values, but I'm not going to judge those who perform the way they perform. I just think their choices could have been better. So, what can we do? What do we do? Well, what we're doing is not working. By protesting, by marching, by doing things that happened in the 60s, not to knock or demean anything that our forefathers or foremothers did in the 60s to help us gain some more rights, some more benefits that we have today. But those measures yesterday don't work today. They're not going to work tomorrow. And definitely what happened last night isn't going to change anything. When you burned that car last night, or when you broke into the mall last night and stole what you stole or did those things, what did you think was going to change by that action? Where were you, or did you care that anything would change, or you just wanted to act out at that point? So when we do what we do, we perform, we've got to have a cause and effect. If we do this, what's it going to gain us? What's it going to do? Is it going to get someone's attention? No, the whole world already sees. We already got the attention. We already got the attention in a negative manner. We've already got the attention in a manner that's not positive, in a manner that's not productive. So is it really about the attention, or is it about a productive attention that's going to get us somewhere to move something or to do something different? There's 4 points. Four. I have 4 quick points that I want to share with you that are things that we should have been doing and that we could continue to do. They're not overnight fixes. They will take time. Many of you will balk at them. But if you really want to do something different, if you really want a change, these are 4 ways that can lead towards that. The first one is, for some of you or some of us out there that are younger, you need to get into law enforcement. You need to get into law enforcement. You need to be one of those public servants that are in law enforcement that help control the law, help control people in different areas. And then when you have a chance to make a difference or do something and be fair, or not have that type of outcome that happened with George Floyd, or if you were one of the officers there and saw something wrong, you would have an opportunity to change it or do something or stop your fellow officer from doing that. That's a change. Is it slow? The answer is yes. Excuse me, the wind caught me. The answer is yes. But at the same point, it's a start. So get into law enforcement. Get into the areas where you can have a direct contact with the people and make a difference by being a person who's conscious about what's been happening and that you want to make a difference. Number two would be take it one step farther. Become an attorney, so that when you have to prosecute, you can prosecute fairly, or you can prosecute on just cause, or you can prosecute the officers that commit these crimes to the point where they receive penalties or punishments equal to a black person who would have committed the same thing, or better yet, a fair judgment of based off of their actions, which should not be 4 years or no jail time and just probation for 4 years for murder. It shouldn't be that. So become an attorney, become a judge, so that when the attorneys or the police officers get these people to you in front of you, you can make a just decision based off of trying to move this forward and trying to change how this whole mind washing, brain fucking that's been going on about a black life doesn't matter, by making the right judgments or giving the right punishments or the right sentences, not personal, but being fair based off the act and the crime and the penalty, by making just cause judgments as a judge. So become a judge. The other area would be number three is your local, state, or federal government officials, senators, political administrators. Get into that realm. So with the people who have with the ability to make different laws, to put things into place, you have an impact. You can fight for a law not to be there. You can fight for a law that's on the books now that shouldn't be. You could fight for a law that's coming in that takes away some more rights, or it takes away something that you can say, no, that's not right. Let's do this. So get into those elements: law enforcement, attorneys, judges, your local government officials, state and federal. The fourth, it combines two areas. It combines economical power and networking. Black folks are always talking about white folks don't understand. They don't understand our cause. They don't know. They can't relate. Why do you care? It doesn't really matter. Make them our ally. They suffer pain. They have anguishes. They have issues too. Many of them have black children. So they can empathize, they can join the cause, but you need their power to support the cause as well. Join and gather with the ranks of Hispanics, of Asians, of the Jews. Gain the alliance of these folks, and let's put all of us together to fight what we're up against. So we have the backing of a multi dimensional ethnic group of people fighting for the value of a life, the value of people, the value of humanity, which is where it really should be, instead of the value of a black life, which has no value. So we should be learning from the Jewish culture about the Holocaust and how they have evolved to today to be a very powerful ethnicity or ethnic group. We should be learning. We should actually be partnering with them instead of hating them or them hating us. We should have partnered with every ethnicity out there for this just cause, because every ethnicity out there has encountered racism here in this country. So instead of fighting them or telling them they don't know our cause, you ain't shit, you don't know, bullshit. Make them your ally. Work with them. The last point, which is the most powerful, and that's economical power. If you really want someone's attention, you really want to shut somebody down, get out the street. Don't go burn up no building. Don't pick it in front of them. Don't break in and steal their shit. Boycott. Stop spending your money. And I'm not talking about at your local store, at your local corner store. Yeah, those are good starts. But I'm talking about the powerful manufacturers, the powerful businesses in this country that make this country run. Microsoft, Apple, IBM, um, Facebook, Netflix, all major car dealers, the airline industry, the entertainment industry, major apparels. If you stop spending your money, you pick a sector and you stop spending your money there, you will get the attention of a lot of people to try to do something different. But just doing what you do, they don't fucking care. They don't. You don't impact them. You don't impact their lives. But you hurt their business by taking away the economical power that you spend. So when you took your stimulus money and you went out and bought all this shit that you really didn't need, If you had taken that money and put it into something else, or communalized that money within your community, that would have been a smarter choice. But you went out and spent it, and you gave more power, or more to somebody else. And I'm not saying everybody that's a major player as far as the manufacturers or business is negative, but there are ones that support that philosophy that I'm talking about, that Black Lives Don't Matter, and those are the ones that we should use our economical power to get people's attention. Promise you that'll be more effective. If you don't believe me, look what COVID-19's done over the last 2.5 months. Major businesses are at the verge of going out of business, or going away, because no one's been spending any money. Yeah, that would spend everybody, but the black dollar has a lot of value. We spend a lot of money in this country, a lot of money. Our dollar value, or where we put our dollars, is extremely valuable and important. They might not like you, and they don't, but they want your dollar, and they know you will spend it. They know you will stand in line for fucking 4 hours to buy a pair of goddamn Jordans. They know that. They're for 300 or 400 bucks, more than what the average black person makes in 1 week salary, or 1 week income. That's dumb. Here's my last point, and I'm gonna get off my rant. I have 3 children, 29, 29, 26, and one will be 21 shortly. The oldest two are boys. It's sad that my dream for them, as they moved into their early 20s, is that they could get to 20, 25, and 30 and be alive and not have gone to jail. What kind of aspiration is that for me as a father in America, that my aspiration, or that my desire, is that my boys can get to these ages, 20, 25, and 30, by not being killed, by staying alive and not going to jail. And they're good children. They don't get into any trouble. They don't cause any drama. They lived a so-called basic life, or normal life. But my fear is that they would not make it till those ages, and that still is my fear. My fear is that they will die before me. That shouldn't be that way. Well, it's Coach Blue for you, signing out this time. I want you to think about that. Think about what we're up against with Black Lives Matter, with a culture and an ingraining where the value of a black life doesn't matter. So you're fighting the wrong battle. You're fighting a cause, or trying to change a mentality that you can't beat. It's too deep. So you have to do something different. You want something different? Do something different. Please subscribe. Please hit the like button. Please share with all your family and friends. I look forward to talking to you again. Appreciate these moments. Other than that, folks, peace.